I think it would be possible, but I think it would be very expensive. I think it would be as well, it would require rethink certain things of the house, like this transparency and everything. It's something that it looks very nice, and we dream about it like, oh, imagine being there in the summer and being inside, reading a book while I can just see all this landscape. But at the end, it will require all this glass panel have something to mitigate that sun, because otherwise we're gonna be cooked inside. I think it definitely would compromise its architectural purity. I don't think it's a house thought completely to the things that really, it's just not the landscape, it's the size. I think it's thought, it's landscape, it's not thought size.
I would say it brings the question of what actual sustainable architecture is. I would say that passive sustainable technology is taking into account the sun, the site, how is it going to be in summer, in the winter. Would it have a bigger roof? That way it would mitigate some of that sunlight that's coming in. Does it all need to be glass for us to enjoy the view? Could we, I feel like right now there's more of a picture window trend coming in. I think it's taking into account whether it's all for exposure, or should I just maybe choose what I want my client to see and enjoy. I feel like it would be kind of controversial as well to incorporate maybe something that's like, I don't know, solar roofs or something like that. It's not helping the problem, which is making that house livable in the first place. And of course, everything that would have to be for cooling and for making it more comfortable to live in would be, I think.
To support your idea, actually, I was thinking about that, just like a big picture of what you said, not into the details, zoom out from the project and ask us again, ourselves again, why should we think about intervene if this building is a heritage building? And it's not about because it's on a small scale, medium scale, or large scale project. I think we should have a sort of kind of reflection about it, because we're not talking about just a small building or horizontal, regular size, regular value there in the building or about building. We're talking about a heritage building with a huge legacy for us as graduates from overseas or graduates of architecture. So I think it's very accurate what you said about the technology point of view. The solar panels or different technologies could solve different problems that we can point there. But usually the problem is not just that zoom in. Is bigger than that, actually. So perhaps our thoughts could be more why should we do this, or why not? No,
but then no. Yeah, of course. But then if we're zooming out, what comes to my mind is to think that two things. The first one then is that definitely that we have a very nice museum piece.
Absolutely,
it's a museum piece, and I remember this thing that a teacher told me my first semester. Actually, are we doing livable spaces? Are we thinking about to inhabit the space, or are we thinking about beautiful sculptures? That is one of the main discussions in architecture since forever. No, form, fiction, like technique, the three amazing things that we all work around all the time. So yeah, in that sense, I definitely would say that we have a masterpiece of a museum, like a museum, and in the woods, masterpiece. Yeah. But in the second thought, what comes to my mind is all the buildings that actually are working today, this architecture
Yeah.
that we keep somehow. I mean, I know that this, for example, LEED certification, there are more and more governments that are demanding that when you design, it has to have some efficiency, some thinking about it. But I really think that we are a little bit behind on that yet. So we still building with glasses, the whole city, a mirror, and then we're building with these materials that as well makes me think about permanency, no? That this thing of this school of architecture is that think about permanency, not temporary thing. And that way, I think the question is very accurate, not exactly for the house itself, but all the buildings are working today's habitable, livable spaces that actually have all these issues and not the technology to solve them. So it's very interesting.
I think it's very controversial, and that's the main point here. For sure that we'll agree that sense that we have different points of view, and we can actually.
I was thinking, in matter what you say, regarding what you said before, that we are using this kind of structure, this kind of materials also for building an entire city. And we know that it's not sustainable. We know that we have a lot of issues in matters of how to put air conditioner there. And I believe one of the biggest problems that we have now is how to cool that space or how to make it warm, and all of this. And I'm thinking on it's not only money, all these kind of resources that we are putting just because we are not using materials more related with environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's another topic. That's another huge conversation about materials itself, because we have plenty options. We have developing through all this time, all these years, new technologies and new materials itself. So I think as an architect or as a graduate of architecture, or even as a student in general in the field, engineers and stakeholders in general, we have to think about that too, because it's not just yes or no answer question.
Yes.
It's actually first that debate in my mind, and from my point of view, this is the most important thing. Actually, I thanks a lot to Mel that she had the initiative with other girls. I'm not part of the same group that most of you are part, but anyway, I support, not because we also have a friendship, it's because I value our field, and I value a lot our backgrounds, and I think that's the most important here.
Yes. I believe all of us, we are very passionate in our profession, but also I'm thinking about what's going on in the future. If we're still taking this kind of decisions in matter of materials and how we design, how we locate the house or the building there. So I believe if in the future, or even now, we have to change that, because all the orientations are not the same. And if we build something, we have to think how to create different approach to how is the sun or how is in winter or summer. It's not all the seasons are the same. So
Even in Barcelona Pavilion, I have been Barcelona Pavilion times.
Yeah.
I could say many times. I love Barcelona city. I was living there before to came here to Lisbon, and I'm going to point to things, perhaps small topics in relation with Farnsworth house. It's a residential building, so I think about slots that you mentioned, the technical explanation about it. I think it's quite important here because we are in Queensland now, currently. So in Queensland, we have a long history of floods.
yes.
Especially here. So it's very, very important highlight.
Yes.
And that catch my attention immediately. And you can have some more research about that. You can do your own research. You're going to find so interesting information about that. And on the other hand, I wanted to just point some similarities. Of course, the semi-strategic from the tectonic point of view, an architectural point of view from Miss Van der Rohe in Barcelona Pavilion, but it's not the same again, just for what you said just now. Because even when it's similar, it's not the same, because different location, different latitude, different country, different environment.
Yes, but I believe just to be inside what you say, but it's like the pavilion is not the same in all the facade. I believe here the problem is especially that it's like you put the box there and you are not thinking on shadows or where is coming the sun. But in Barcelona it's different, but because also we have
The wall.
yes, exactly.
To walk along the wall.
Yes,
They help us to redirect.
yes, it's like a path. You have a path there.
What's its main point? This is a residence to live all year round, and it's still not taking into consideration that. And I feel like the question is, how can we not compromise the architectural purity, which is also kind of a hot take on architecture. I feel like Mies was very academic and, as you mentioned, more focused on what he wanted to make it the point. He had a point. I want to be a minimalistic architect, and he definitely was. But yeah, that's another thing that we can debate about, is what is the role of the architect? Is it to do sculptural architecture, which doesn't have to be livable? It doesn't need to take into consideration all of these that we're talking about. Or are we making a service? We are service people. We have to respond to the needs. Yes, exactly. And sometimes we all had to argue a bit with clients, I imagine, and what their wants are, which is not a need, but still you have to consider it's the house that they're going to invest all of their time in, probably money, and you're here to serve them. And lots of times we do things we're not passionate about, right? But we want to make our clients happy, and at the end of the day, they're gonna live in it. So I feel like Farnsworth, I love it as a
Designer, architect.
it's a team. Yeah.
And it's close one.
But I think it's a failure if the person that committed it doesn't want to live in it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Failure.
why are we so obsessed with it? If it's so, as an architect, we love harmony, we love sculptures, we love art.
And this is that not everybody has that opportunity, just some architects. So, and the job of me this time was for that. So he had a good client, a good customer. He has invited them to do that. So not everybody. So any of us has that situation. No, they don't have it. No, so we can. So it's weird. So I believe that some people can do it. And of course, so if you are in Farnsworth, it's just like anybody can live there. So, but what is the meaning of this building? This is important. So I know everybody knows that anyone can live there, but the meaning is the respect for the architect. So
I think the same, like he was trying to change the history in architecture, all the materials, new materials, the paradigms. So he was trying to do something completely different. So that's why he wanted to make a point, like this is new, this is what we do now, even though it didn't work for the customer. So I think it's very valuable to try to read new things, new paradigms. Yeah, the details are still really, but that's the reason. True. I mean, it could be a huge failure. In this case, I think it was in
from the client what your client needs. But for example, Eiffel Tower was very controversial. See us now, but nobody will live there.
I think the point is more like, it could be like the goal of the construction. I think it's a failure because it was thought as a house. I think it would have been thought as a museum, it would have thought as a gallery into the woods. Imagine putting in that central core, I don't know, any academic exercises. A way to show how this works, for example, when I say, no, we haven't seen how the IDs work. Here's an example how we can make it work and how we can make it work with glass and how we can make the joints and here's the failures we can improve from this, etc. The goal was to be a house, and then we have a failure because of that as well.
Yeah, that's the kind of examples like I would list from my perspective. The sky's the limit. It's the best academic example.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody has opportunity to the different field. So as an architect, not for your life, maybe you did 100 of 1,000 of residential buildings, just a few hospitals, just a few libraries, just a few or maybe anything. And if you have the opportunity that one thing are these and you have the chance to change your mind and to change the parting of your time, why not take it?
Yes, I'm taking time.
Why not take the next step?
Why exactly?
If you have not all the conditions are the same at the same time.
Perfect client.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are a lot of examples as well where we have these conditions, and here I'm going to point to things. The first one is that this very old school architect, one of those told me once, is that you don't understand the success. The success is when you come back 2 years after and it remains the same. And to me, that would be the biggest failure because then no one is really interacting with what is going on then. And then you have the same, you have all this scenario to make something. And then you come back the next 2 years and it's changed like this, a little bit like that and stuff. And something has emerged there. So is that really a failure? Because then we make it work. Somehow it's working. People took it as its own, and it's, life has changed. It's, like in time, you would see it everywhere. So what then you need to question as well. So you need to question as well, what is success? What is having all these perfect conditions, and what is to take the next step? The next step is to leave a thing there and come back 2 years and say, oh yeah, great, it's the same, but no one's there. Or go to the other one, it has neutral walls in the middle of something, or it has a different painting, but then you have, like people is living there, people is actually making something with it. So I think it's a very interesting approach when we see it like that.
I like that approach. In fact, I was thinking about, for example, Aravena, when he started some parts of the house and he evolved to the community to complete the other part, because the family in that point, they felt as engaged with the house. I believe that it's also very cultural at the same time.
Yeah,
I think they will value someone changed his architecture. Imagine the house painted in pink, I don't know, one wall.
When I'm picturing the shades that you pull down, that they're very common where we are from. Like the Asian ones that are like made of plastic, just to keep the sun out, because that's the main problem on summer in that house. And I think it shows that you need to be a bit more flexible on your design choices. Not even, you could still apply a lot of design to it just to make it functional, because at the end of the day, it didn't have a problem.
And on the other hand,
Which is I want to live here.
what is successful and what is perfection?
Yes.
Yeah, that's another story. That's another debate, perhaps 2 hours more, and it's a never ending, not just 2 hours. But I set a failure from the client's point of view.
But it was a success from the architect.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Talking about
And saying that we love it as design, it's a bit. But yeah, so true. And it's because, I don't know, like, when you approach these kind of things, I remember once having like a student group and asking them, the main question in that kind of debate or discussion that we were having was, what is the importance of the role in architecture today? Because of everything, because of the AI, because of the ways that all these social housing are on. I love it, and it's one of my biggest approach to do my career. But let's talk it in this sense, so we can open the question. The social housing where they are choosing how to live, then start to say, I spent 5 years at least studying, other 3 specializing. I have a lot of challenges through my career. So my customer or my client comes to tell me how to do my job. So all these approaches, and I remember one of the girls saying that they don't know how to live. Who are we to understand how they live? And I think it's one of the biggest questions that this kind of piece leave us as a lesson. Like this woman tried to warn him multiple times. He had disagreement about it, and he just kept going with the house, and at the end she just hated it, sold it, and went to live to Europe in a complete different house that to be possibly is opposite as Farnsworth house. So
I'm not pretty sure about what was the story regarding Eddie and me. Yeah, because I read that she was involved also with the design from scratch. So I don't know what happened with this customer, but anyway, I like that approach in matters of design together with the customer. Not as we as we know everything.
Like this way of what we are gonna do.
It's so important to be engaged with the customer, to know which are their desires and also how they live.
Because we need to understand that, and you have to completely understand to guide them and help them to achieve their ideal home. But it is,
possible from art.
It's amazing. Take some normal, but that it's so normal. So if you, for example, for people who live here in Australia, it's normal have different service. It's normal has all the service. It's normal have a big place to live, different in my thing. So for people who does it, who don't have that, they believe that the normality is that they have. And if we as a professional have the opportunity to show them how they can improve their life, why not to do it?
I believe as part of because the background that we have as architects, we have been engaged to this kind of theories and structure or design, but at the same time, it's a mix between reality and expectation, right? Because it really matters if we design something that actually didn't work. Our goal is to create a space where people can involve the family and feeling good there. So
I once heard from a professor that the architecture is not only a technical field, but also a very social one, because you have to be kind of like a therapist. You gotta hear the clients, what they want, what they like, how they live, what are their habits and all that stuff, and then interpret that out. And you say, well, this is my approach to your life, and what do you think about it? Therapist won't tell you gotta live this way. It's gonna tell you how to better your habits, maybe, but it's not gonna give you an all be all solution to your lifestyle. And I think that's what was lacking for maybe Mias. He was a very determined guy. From what who else?
wait.
So does anyone wants to talk?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello. I think came across that issue with my own family trying to design.
That you can talk.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you now. Hello? Oh, good? And especially with my sister, that she's very direct and she's like, I don't like what you're doing because I don't see what you see, how we think, how we perceive things, because we have that academic formation that they don't. So they don't, when we look at the wall, we look at the texture, we look at how the sun hits the wall. They just look at the wall. So I think it's more a matter of how you say that we become more like a therapist of the client, and we see we need to investigate their needs, and then how we translate that into the design is our job, in my perspective. And the success of the house will be like if that client thinks that we really interpret the ideas the right way, or if they feel that that's not their space. Because at the end of the day, they are going to be the users, and they are the ones who have to be feeling comfortable with this space, because we can be like, oh, and this view, I don't know, you have the view to the mountains, and then they hate the mountains. So I don't know. Then it's when the communication, I think, is the key. And sometimes that is lost throughout the process, the design process. So I believe it's our mission to keep that engagement with the user of the building, so then this doesn't happen. It doesn't become just a museum or an iconic building for students, and it becomes something that people can use. That's what I think about this building.
Does anyone else want to speak from it?